Hi, I want to just explain how I teach children how to get to the point of using their phoneme fingers and how to actually get children to segment words. So I use this resource and it has a mandarin or an orange at the top and down below are some bits of the mandarin. And I talk to the children about how we're going to learn how to segment. We're going to segment words in this case. Now, with a orange, or a mandarin in this case, when we have the whole mandarin, we can peel off the skin, and inside we find all these little bits, which we can eat. Now, those bits are called segments, and those segments are bits of the mandarin. So when it's all together with the skin, it's a whole mandarin. But I can break it apart into its segments. And that's just like a word. We can have a whole word, but we can break that word apart into its segments. And that's what we're going to learn how to do today. And that's called segmenting. So when I ask you to segment a word, it means to break it up into the parts of the word. So I always start with 3 counters up in the top mandarin, and I also have a set of cards that contain pictures of words that contain the first 8 sounds of the scope and sequence that I use. So in that scope and sequence, T, A and P are one of the first 8 sounds. So I've got the word tap. I've also got one here with a cat, and there's a picture of a lady running for fit. So let's start with cat. So I say to the children, what's this word? And they all say cat. Say, great, watch me first. I'm going to show you how I segment the word cat into its different parts. So watch me. Cat. I've broken up that word cat into cat. And I've put 1 counter for each segment on for each part of the word. I'll put it up here again. Watch me again. Cat. Now you have a turn. Let's do it together. And so I will have them with their own set of this resource, their own set of counters at the top, and I'll say, put your finger on the first counter, say the first sound, go k. Next counter, a. Next counter, t. And we will practice that many times until they are able to do that. I might then also give them a go at doing it by themselves. And I really want to hear all those individual phonemes. Once they're able to do that one, we can go on to the next card. And initially I heavily model this. So real I do, and then we do it together, and then you do it. So tap, and then they have a go. After a few sessions of this, some children will get it a lot quicker than others. Sometimes you might need to spend a whole week just doing this as part of your lesson to build up that sort of phonemic awareness in terms of segmentation. Once you can see that children are getting it, that if you just give them the picture card and they are able to identify the sounds, tap. Once they're able to do that, you know they're ready for the next stage. So this is a very heavily scaffolded activity. So once they're able to identify those, you can start doing things like, after they've put the sounds down, you can start saying things like identifying and isolating phonemes. So you might say, what sound does this one represent? What sound does this one represent? and then the middle. I always do the first, the last, and then the middle, because that's the order in which the difficulty is in isolating phonemes. Once you know that they are able to do that quite confidently and identify each one of those phonemes, you can then start introducing some letter tiles. So I put the counters back up the top, and I place all the letter tiles at the bottom, so I have them available for them. Just put them down like that. So now when we do the word tap, we still use the counters, tap, and I'll say to them, what sound is this one? T. And then I ask them to identify which one's t down here, and they can start placing the letters underneath the counters. So obviously you need to put the sounds down like that. Okay. Once they're able to do multiple words, able to break the segments into the phonemes and then identify those phonemes, and then have the alphabetic principle in terms of matching the letter or the grapheme to the phoneme. Once they're able to master that, you can actually take away the counters and just put letters at the top. Okay, I sort of have them a little bit like that, bit mixed up. Initially you might like to have them like this, that they're able to bring them down, but eventually what you want is them to be able to identify those sounds as they are bringing them down. So the word is tap. Here we go. Watch me first. T, app. And then they have a go as well. All right. So we're breaking up the segments. Remember, we're not blending the word afterwards, because we're saying the word beforehand. It could be that you ask them to read the word to double check, but we don't necessarily need t, app, and then blend all the sounds together, because at the moment we're really focusing on that segmenting, not on the blending of words. Okay, once they are able to do that, what you can do is bring your sounds down, and they could perhaps write them with a whiteboard marker underneath. And then obviously the last step would be to then just have the word tap, and that they directly write the letters onto the segments. Once they have really got that understanding of segmenting, we can say, right, now we're going to take away those segments, because actually we've got something on our hand that we can use to show those segments. So this segment here, the first one, can be represented by your first finger on your hand. And obviously I have the big discussion about which way the phoneme hand goes. But this is the first one. This is the first finger. This middle one represents this finger here. And then the third one is here. So when I have the word tap, I can go t-app, and I've got the phonemes right there ready for when I'm writing. So that's how I scaffold the learning to really fully understand that segmentation process, and also how to transfer it onto the phoneme fingers. Rather than going straight to phoneme fingers, I want to use materials first to really get that visual support for children, so that they actually understand what this is about. And in that way, I see a lot less of this sort of thing. Tap. Some children will do that if they don't understand what these fingers are about. There are some children that are using phoneme hands and phoneme fingers, but not understanding that this represents an individual phoneme. Each finger represents a phoneme. They just think, as I say the sounds, I have to flick my fingers out because that's what I see the teacher do. But if you scaffold this learning right from the beginning with a beginner reader, then that provides just that little bit more scaffolding and understanding of exactly what individual phonemes are. And then you can really do some isolation work, looking at the beginning and the end and the medial vowel there in the middle. So I hope that helps. And I look forward to seeing you all use your Mandarin sheets and really getting that process of the phoneme fingers underway.